Yeah. This is the Legacy League. Tell me where will your legacy be? Yeah.
The semifinals are set in Massachusetts. Surprise, I'm back. I got Owen standing by here on the Postgame Show. We're going to break down what happened this past week, how we got to the two semifinal matchups we have coming up this Wednesday night. And then, we're going to do some other stuff too, some MVP talk. I mean, Owen, I'm co-hosting today, but I'm really hijacking the show. So, Owen, how's it going? And what do you think about these semifinals we have coming up?
What up? So, Massachusetts, don't worry, my voice is still here. Semifinals, first season here in the Massachusetts playoffs. It's going to definitely be an exciting one going into the semifinals and then the finals the following week. And like I said a couple of podcasts ago, this league is extremely competitive from top to bottom. And two teams, their road ends here, but I definitely think we'll be able to see these teams come back and have a competitive season, whether that's next year or in the winter. We'll see.
Yeah, and so we can let's get started. We'll do a quick recap of what happened in the quarterfinals. Only 2 games because there's only 6 teams, but we'll go in order quick, and I can guide this part of it. This is the easy part. DTMB takes care of the Party Crashers in the 4-5, and I will say, let's get it going. We can make this a fun one. You know, you were looking at the Party Crashers, okay, and so they didn't come through. Not that you were picking an upset. Oh, and I'm not, completely, throwing you under the bus that is, driving by at the moment. But you were like, hey, I'm interested, right? And I get it. We also talked about how DTMB scores with the best of them in this league as a team. And some of their team stats reflect that. But was it, and I wasn't there. I was watching. And I was like, oh, Party Crashers maybe for a second. It was all DTMB in that first quarter. And they kind of just held on at that point, right? I mean, it was just offense for them.
Yeah, absolutely. The DTMB, they got out to the start they wanted. They were able to score quick, early and often. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Terrence Gallo, he usually shows up a little late. He'll come into that second quarter throughout the regular season. But here in the playoffs, he showed up early. He started this game. And I think that was a difference in the first quarter to really get DTMB the ball rolling. And they just really started to take off. But then you had to hold your breath there in the second and third quarter. You thought the Party Crashers were going to make a run and have a chance at it. And I think a huge shout-out goes to Kevin Flynn, like for most weeks for the Party Crashers. But this week specifically, he was able to hit a lot of threes, and threes greater than 2, and he was able to put this team back in the game a little bit. I'm not saying directly back in the game, but he was able to make it interesting. And then DTMB, like you say, their offense, you said it was up with the best, but it is the best. Their offense is the best in the league, and they were able to prove that and win this game.
Kevin Flynn, 37 points. Probably, we can do the math on how many he technically needed for them to kind of keep pace with DTMB, right? But probably needed a 50-point, super effective performance. And he shot it, very well. 14 to 22, 5 of 9, 7 assists. I mean, that's, him probably maxing out in a big playoff game. Like, that's an awesome performance from him. Not enough for this team against a team like DTMB that's going to score so much, like we talked about. So shout out to him. Shout out to the Party Crashers. 9 of 21 from 3. We'll talk about this a ton in these next 2 matchups, but that probably had to be up in the high 30s for the Party Crashers with 3-point attempts just to try to get the pace going, get more shots up, and 3s are worth more than 2s like you talked about. But, and we've said it all year, the Party Crashers and the Immortals, who we're going to get to, kind of the two teams that are in fact eliminated at this point, they're not normal 5 and 6 seeds, in a league of 6 teams, right? Which would put them near the bottom of a league. And so
not at all.
The RI Wave, Party Crashers, beat the Immortals, and we're in some other games and have a lot of talent. And so shout out to them. But DTMB, just really quickly on Terrence Gallo, he also has been making more of an impact in the Rhode Island League. Not that anyone cares about that here, but it's been like consistent night to night for him. So it's not, random that he had a game like he had in this one. 27 points, 13 of 15 from the floor, 13 rebounds, 6 offensive, 3 assists, usually a couple more assists just because he does have the ball so much, but constantly attacking, so quick. For someone his size, and he is a social media fan favorite. So, shout out Terrence Gallo. We love Terrence. But when he gets downhill and someone his size, you wouldn't think like, we'll just get in front of him and stop him. That's not how things work. And on a basketball court, forget how low the rim is. That's an added advantage for him when he can then attack the rim and try to dunk it on you versus maybe try to lay it in and absorb that contact. So he's been playing super well. Cole Sullivan continued playing really well, 3 of 6 from 3, 23 points and 10 rebounds and 10 assists for him, so a triple-double. Ethan Austin with 34, kind of a little under his average, from what we've seen him do during the season, but he didn't really have to. And so if those three, and I don't want to jump on the preview, and I'll get it back to you in a second, but those three as ball handlers, as creators, as scorers will probably need a combined, and you can tell me if I'm crazy on this, 80, like 90 between them against the Reapers. So sure, that's like Ethan going for his 40, Terrence with 20 and Cole with 20 is 80. So we can go with that. I mean, I think that's a really good spread for those three combined if they're going to look to pull off an upset.
Yeah, DTMB, Ethan Austin, he had the 34. And I think a lot of his stats throughout the regular season, they get a little bit inflated because towards the end of the games, when games aren't really competitive anymore because they're scoring 100 points, he really starts to try to get a little highlight, throw it on his Instagram, which I can't blame him for. Definitely puts on a show. But I think this game, he really focused a little bit more on the defensive end in that first half. And then once he realized, all right, we're going to win this game, I think that's when he started to take off a little bit more. So I don't think the 30 floor is like a low game for him. I think it's just how the style of the game went. And then the beauty of this being the first playoff game, everything you see here is a brand new record. So Cole Sullivan, first ever playoff triple-double in Massachusetts. Got to give him a shout out there. And I think if we look at both this game and the next game, everything, like I said, is a new playoff record, but I think that one might actually stand for a little bit.
Yeah, let's get to that other matchup where it is the Mob in what was more of a rock fight, and that's even, I'm not trying to be mean, but a lower scoring game with a little bit less offense in that game, but it is the Mob able to pull it out and advance to the semifinals. Yeah, so it is the Mob really quick. 66-43. We'll be talking more about them as they advance, but Sebastian Delone with 26 and 10. Daquan Durham, 18. They made 10 threes as a team. So, again, 40 rebounds, though, was huge as they out-rebounded the Immortals 40-29. Casey Key with 19, 9 of 21. So, an 0 of 6 from 3. He's been so big for that team in the Immortals, and as a attacker, creator, able to get almost any shot he wants. And in this one, it felt like that wasn't there. And that kind of goes back to the point of in the playoffs, like, let's take something away, right? And I don't know if it was a focus of the Mob. We can probably ask them, and I'm sure they would honestly tell us, but it makes sense. Like, let's stop their number one option and make them adjust, right? And that's what happens in a lot of these games. It felt like, to me, watching, that adjustment never came. And that was kind of why we're here looking at 43 points and 5 of 19 from 3. The Mob were able to shut off that first option for the Immortals.
Yeah, like you said, the Immortals, they only shot 32% from the field. And that's not going to win you a playoff game, whether you're in Massachusetts, Connecticut, or Rhode Island. You got to shoot better than that. And it's not like they were missing wide open shots. Every shot was contested. Mob is a great team, defensive team they're two big guys, Sebastian and Daquan Durham. Like, it's going to be hard to score on this team regardless. And then even their guards with Hassan and Dante, like, they don't make any of your shots easy, especially in the playoffs when the game slows down. And that definitely caused problems for the Immortals. And like you said, Casey Key went 0 for 6 from 3. And that's not going to win you a playoff game regardless of who you're playing against. And on top of that, the Mob, I just mentioned their top two guys. They played great offensively, shot 64% and 50% respectively. And that right there is it's going to be enough to win you a game every time. However, in this first half, it was definitely closer than at least I expected. I'm going to throw you under the bus here. You said you had Immortals as your team that were going to maybe pull an upset off. And looking at the first half, most would say that you were right. But the Mob, they really just buckled in. That third quarter was the biggest quarter of the game by far. And the Mob really just came out the second half and ran away with it. Not that it was a big halftime speech, but they got together. They're like, hey, we got a playoff game to go win. Let's go do it. And that's exactly what they did in that third quarter. And they never really looked back after that.
The games, they always take longer. I've been in enough of those playoff games. The finals are a whole separate beast, and we'll hopefully talk more about that in the future. But those games are like feel like they're 2 hours long. Like, sure, it's the same length of time. It's just everything is so slower, more important. Like, just the game just drags on in a good way, like in a good way. But in this one, it's a tale of two halves, right? Like, you can do it for a half, when you're the less talented team, maybe, and that's just a credit to the Mob having more options offensively, right? You can keep pace for a quarter. We talk about it against a team like the Reapers, against a team like Lob City, when in our old days doing these shows. Like, you can do it for 3 quarters. That's not enough, especially in the playoffs. Like, it needs to be for the full game. And so my point was to the upset talk here. I liked the Immortals' chances better than the Party Crashers. So take that for what it's worth. Whether that's a shot, I don't know who that's a shot at. DTMB, I don't know. I just thought matchup-wise, because the Immortals did have some size kinda to combat what the Mob like to do, I thought that was the more likely upset. We saw no upsets. So the top 4 are set, and we have some really good matchups in the semis. You wanted to do some stuff on the 2 teams that got eliminated. So yeah, I mean, so it's the Party Crashers who lose in their first playoff game, and the Immortals. Yeah, what do you have on those teams?
So Party Crashers, they both these teams, they go 1-7, and like you said earlier, these 2 teams, they're not bad teams at all. Put them in the Connecticut, put them in Rhode Island, and I think they at least make a little bit of noise. I'm not throwing shade towards Connecticut or Rhode Island. I just think these teams have the talent to at least compete in those leagues, and especially with guys like Casey Key, Kevin Flynn, the 2 top guys for both these teams, and then even their little side. I was going to say side pieces. That's definitely not the right word, but their secondary scoring options, like you have Nick Barry, you have Kyle Wolf, Freddie Milligan. They're good teams by far. They're definitely teams that have the talent to win 5 or 6 games in an 8-game regular season. It's just these other 4 teams that we're going to talk about in a little bit in the semifinals. They've got top end talent all the way top to bottom. They're better rosters, but I didn't want to just sit here and dismiss these 2 teams who played a great regular season. It's just maybe in future seasons those close games they can come away with wins.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes with experience in this league. So, and when teams come back, which I hope both of these teams do in one form or another, adding a piece or 2, now that they understand how things work, adding another creator, adding maybe another bigger player for the Party Crashers, another scoring option, like a Kevin Flynn clone, right? To have 2 of them on the floor for that team would help, and then you would see some of that drastic improvement. I'll tease it now. Coming up when we preview the semifinals, I will give you my 2 side pieces for both of the teams that I have winning. Shout out to Owen. But no, I think that, yeah, those teams were competitive, and the Immortals beat the RI Wave, right? I don't even want to go into details on that. That happened. So that's an exact credit to your point, right? That
the first step is acceptance, Joey. They beat you fair and square.
Well, all right, fine. Yes, 1,000,000%, because that is the end result. 4 of 27 is insane, and that means we missed a ton of shots, and they were defending it. So that was what I was going to avoid. 4 of 27, or I think it might have been worse than that. Yeah. Inability to make shots will lead to games like that. But these 2 teams, for sure, hopefully they come back and build on what they were building on throughout the season. All right, awesome. Anything else on them? We good? Keep it rolling.
Keep it rolling. Let's rock into these semifinal games.
Yeah. You can tell we're very prepared for this show. Do you want to do MVP anything first? And then we'll do semifinals and get out of here. Any MVP? So we do have our end of season awards. Let's break it down for some of the new people to the league. And so we have MVP, which is pretty self-explanatory. Offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, and 5th man of the year, because instead of 6th man, we only play 4 at a time. So it's 5th man of the year, first person off the bench. And then in future seasons, we'll have our rookie of the year, but everyone's a rookie, so that kind of defeats the purpose. And then most improved, where when players come back, that's an opportunity for them to improve season after season and be recognized. So some different awards there, but our 4 big ones: we will be breaking these down in future shows. We'll be announcing who has won on social media. But MVP, this is always a fun conversation because even in the NBA, NFL, whatever, is it the best player? Or is it the best player on the best team? Or is it the player who was the most valuable? And then that opens up a whole different conversation, right? Like what, is Kevin Flynn more valuable to his team than, Sebastian Delone to the Mob? Maybe, but is that what the MVP is? I don't know. Not usually how we do it. But so yeah, what do you think on MVP? And I think there's two and a half, and that's not even a shade at anybody else, but there's 2 or 3 players who I think have kind of separated themselves. But I'm curious to see kind of your front runners, and we'll go from there.
I think that's the beauty of MVP. You don't really know who wins it. And like fifth man, it's obvious. It's the best guy off the bench. Offensive player, it's the best guy who can score. Defensive player, it's the guy who's going to get the most blocks, the most steals, make the most impact. But MVP, it's the gray area, and I think that's why it's such an interesting award. And I think that's also why it means the most. And like you said, 2.5. I was shocked when you showed me the voting numbers. I'm not going to say who. I'm not going to say nothing. It was a very close race, and I think for good reason. 2.5, like you said. I think the 2.5 we're all talking about Sebastian Delone, Ethan Austin, and Kevin Buse. Those 3 guys, they all play great. They all have at least deserve a part of the award, and it all depends on how you judge the award. Whether you go for the guy who makes the most impact. But what I like to do is I like to look at these top guys. If you take them off the team, is the team even good? If you put them on a different team, is that team significantly better? There's a million ways you can go about it, and I think when we announce the MVP of this season, some people might be shocked. Some people are like, "Yeah, he definitely deserves that." But either way, it's going to be an interesting and close race, and stay tuned for it for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny, Kevin Flynn, his numbers are right there, right? And so I think he's next. If we were going to kind of keep going with like MVP voting and go all the way down, my tiebreaker. So yeah, and it's everyone kind of does it differently, right? So
which is good,
which is very good. Yeah, it makes it very interesting. My tiebreaker when we get to this part of the conversation is winning, right? Because a lot of players can go on a different team, and people have done this and score 35 a game, but their team will be 2-6. Right. And so, sure, they might be the best player in the league talent wise, but that's one way to give the award out. But then we would give it to the same person every season, regardless of circumstance. Right. If it's kind of clear cut that this person used to play in college and they're, by far the best player on any team in the league, they would win it. Like, why are we playing the season almost? Right. Like, what makes it special to this season? So I take, there's a ton of things. And that's why I really think, and Owen's trying to get me in trouble before my team plays the Mob in the semifinals. But that's why I really do think kind of Sebastian not played himself out of it because he had an awesome season. But I almost think it's between Ethan Austin and Kevin Buse. And I think Sebastian is that 0.5, but not to discredit him. He's like third. I think he's definitely, in like my opinion, third. And again, he would be awesome on a different team and he impacts the game a ton. And he might be more valuable to his current team than a Kevin Buse. I think that's a fair argument. But as far as this award, I think it's between those two because of how much the other two, Kevin Buse and Ethan Austin, have impacted their teams winning, right? And so, again, to qualify, it doesn't mean Sebastian didn't help his team win, but, undefeated season. And DTMB, who was a free agent team, coming into this season, and were, a game away from getting a bye in the last week of the season. Like that's tells the story of the season. And so, the interns, the analysts you guys see every week do vote. There are then we take those votes and, we don't just go by those votes because, as I've told Owen, when he was in past positions, and as I told all the current analysts, if they were to be like, hey, Joey Zocco's MVP, let's all vote for him, we're not just going to take those votes. Right. So it's not like they can create a coup, and just vote for someone because they like that person. Now that's our MVP. We try to keep it, fair. So there is still some decisions to be made, but I think those are the final two, for this season.
And for all the listeners, when we announce the pick, think about it. Take the player that we announce, take them off the team. Is that team good? Is that team, whatever they are, 4-3? Is that team 8-0? You got to look at it and you got to think, or 5-3. Sorry. Does that team have the same record? Does that team put on the same show? Is that team as much of a threat as they are now? And I think when we announce it, have a look, think about it like that, and really decide based off of that.
I like it. Yeah, and even for the other awards, so we do all legacy team, first team, second team, all defensive team, and really when we look down the awards season after season, and so I've done 17, 18 seasons now of these awards for each season total. First one for Massachusetts. Once you do a couple of them, it's like, all right, what's the story of this season? So right, we've had players who weren't even an all-star 2 seasons ago win MVP the third season because they were that good, they were that impactful, and they were the most valuable that season, where a calendar year ago they weren't even an all-star in our league, right? And so that goes back to the point. The same players could win it every season, but what happened this season with the current layout of the league? And so even for all legacy team is like, all right, does this tell the story of the season? Do these 8 players, were they the best 8 this season? And so I think it's always a fun debate to have, but good. Want to make some picks? Want to put me more on the spot? All right, let's get to these semifinals and make some predictions for you guys. All right, we'll kick it off. The semifinals at 7 o'clock on Wednesday, August 14th. It is the top-seeded and undefeated Reapers taking on the 4th-seeded DTMB, and all of the teams, so we kind of teased it, all the teams in the playoffs with at least 5 wins. DTMB has 4 wins. Wow, there you go. Ruining my open like that. So every team has at least 4 wins. The other 3 teams all, 5-3 or better. And these 2 teams, let me get it right here before I put Owen on the spot. These 2 teams played in week 4. The Reapers won by 11. Math is hard sometimes. And just to kind of, Jay Sean Edwards, who we definitely need to talk about, 33 points. Kevin Views with 33 points in that game. So those 2 really made an impact. And Ethan Austin had 44 and 7 rebounds on 16 of 25 shooting. So, DTMB was up 6 after the first quarter. And it took kind of a big second half, for the Reapers to remain undefeated in that one. We can get your pick. Do an X factor. I mean, there's only 2 games, so we can spend a little bit of time. But I know what I'm looking forward to in this one, and offense. But it really is DTMB's offense against a Reapers defense that has been the difference for them in a lot of these games.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think it's the best offense in the league versus the best defense in the league, and that's going to make for great. I was going to say great TV, but great YouTube. This game, like you said, week 4, it happened, and little small sneak peek, the other semifinal also happened in week 4. So, looking back at week 4, we didn't realize that it's going to have that much of an impact, but here we are now. This game is going to be great. It's going to be I think both these semifinal games, at least I hope, they're going to come down to the wire. And my pick for this one, although it might not be very interesting, if a team hasn't lost, there is no reason to bet against them. And I think I have the Reapers in this one. I think it's close. DTMB, they've definitely found their stride these last couple weeks with their, like you mentioned earlier, their top 3, Cole, Ethan, and Terrence. They, like you said, what did you say, 80, 90? Something ridiculous.
Yeah.
But either way, this game is going to be close. I think the 80 points that they need to score, like you said, I think they're going to be able to do that. But I also think the Reapers are going to be able to do that. This game is definitely going to be higher scoring than the Mob versus RI Wave. But the Reapers, something about their defense, they're quick, they're fast, they're gonna get a bunch of steals, they're gonna get a bunch of blocks. And Jay Sean Edwards, their so-called center down there, he plays very impactful games throughout the season. And yeah, he scored 33 in the last time they played DTMB, but not all games is he scoring 30. He's not even scoring 20 in all these games, but he still has that same impact as a 33-point game. And I think that's going to play a big role in this game. And then you got guys like Josh Monte Castro and Rosario and Henderson, they're all going to play well too. This team is just full of defenders. And then when you have a guy like Kevin Buse, who may or may not be the MVP, also Ethan Austin may or may not be the MVP. Both these guys, MVP matchup here in the semifinals. And I think they're basically going to cancel each other out, or maybe one really outshines the other and deserves that MVP. But if they cancel each other out, I think the supporting cast of the Reapers is just slightly better than the supporting cast of DTMB, and I think that's why they get the win.
I will make a pick, and I'll throw it back to you after I do this. But I want to focus on both ends of the court in kind of both of these games really quickly as part of the preview. And so for DTMB, we talked about it. Those three players need to dominate offensively. Terrence Gallo, Cole Sullivan, and Ethan Austin, right? And we talked about the points that they're going to need to score. Well, who's their fourth person on the floor, and how do they cancel out a Jay Sean Edwards, right? And so not that they have the players they have, so there's not like they can, make it happen now, but playing potentially smaller lineups where, then you might have some issues on the other end. But if you're trying to score anyway, like let's get, Jay Sean out of the paint, right? Like let's make him guard Cole Sullivan in the corner, and not that we're putting Cole in the corner or on the wing, right? Like let's go 4 out. Let's let Terrence Gallo attack. Let's let Ethan Austin attack. And at least kind of Jay Sean's going to be over there and not near the paint, right? And so I look at that as a huge thing that DTMB needs to try to capitalize on to make it easier to get points throughout this game and kind of keep pace with the Reapers. And yeah, it's going to be those three. And who's that fourth player for DTMB offensively? And then on the other end, who's going to guard Jay Sean Edwards? And rebounding is going to be huge. So it was 38-24 when these teams first met. And offensively, it was 18-7. So that can't happen. You can't get crushed on the offensive glass, even if you are going small. And sure, so now it's much easier for us to say here on Friday afternoon, right? Like, do this, don't lose the rebounding edge, make every shot, and you win. It's easy, right? You need to go small and then still be able to scrap and team rebound and not give the Reapers 10 extra possessions. Going one and done is going to be huge and something to keep an eye on. Who's getting to those loose balls? How many extra possessions are the Reapers getting? And despite all of that, if the Reapers just make a ton of threes like they have, been able to do in stretches, if they get hot, they're gonna pull away a little bit, just because of how quickly they can do that. So there's some keys on both ends. The Reapers, need to keep doing what they're doing, defensive pressure. They had 8 steals and caused 10 turnovers when these teams first met. So that, is kind of a constant for the Reapers. Let's look at that. I'm looking at offensive glass and how difficult is it? You can almost feel this early on, so it's going to be funny. I'll be there, and I promise I'll say this to you and whoever's around. Kind of halfway through the first quarter, when the teams settle in, is it easy? Easy is the wrong word. How difficult is it for DTMB to score? It might be a tied game. It might be 25-25, but is it like DTMB is having to work their, behind off every possession to get a layup, where the Reapers are just able to run and pick and roll, throw it up, and they're dunking? Right? Like you can feel things like that in both of these games. And that's going to be huge for a DTMB offense that needs to put the pressure on and almost needs to build a lead early. So kind of what do you think about that? And we'll move on.
Yeah. To go back a little bit to the X's and O's, you said you got to throw Jay Sean out there guarding Cole Sullivan and make sure he doesn't hit threes. But if you look at these team stats, DTMB, they're second to last in 3-point made. I mean, it's a big gap between them and the Immortals, who only had 29 throughout the season, where DTMB had 53. But not that they don't shoot 3-pointer well, they don't shoot it a lot. And so I think if the Reapers, they go into a zone, they really keep I keep forgetting it. I'm drawing a blank. You keep Jay Sean down low, really, to stop the drives from both Terrence Gallo and Ethan Austin. Keep them down low and just live with the 3-pointers made, because we all know that the Reapers, they're going to make their 3-pointers. So I think if they really look at the X's and O's in this one and decide, because they're going to get beat. Both teams are going to get beat, whether it's inside or outside. I think it's deciding where you want to get beat and where is better for you to get beat. And I think if the Reapers allow DTMB to take these shots, yeah, they're going to hit a few. That's the nature of the game. If you have 30 wide open shots, I at least hope you can make 10 of them. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to give up and what they decide to really hunker in on the defensive end and then grab those rebounds, like you said, and like basketball, grab rebounds, score balls.
Yeah,
They do
easy.
that, they'll probably win.
Yeah, no, I like it. So going a zone would neutralize a lot of that, and so it's always interesting as teams kind of make adjustments, right? We talked about that kind of with the Immortals and Mob in the quarterfinals, and how all four of these teams adjust throughout the game is going to be huge. All right, let's get to it. The 2 and the 3 seeds face off, the RI Wave and the Mob. All right, we talked about it. It was also in week 4. It was an overtime game, and it was a pretty different looking Wave team at that point. But it was the Wave able to get the win 67-64 when these teams last met in week 4. Big game from Jared Hansen. And if you remember, Owen was there, so we remember, but it was, some big plays in overtime, a layup, a steal, a layup, some free throws, and that was kind of the difference in the overtime. But a really back and forth game, an even game. No Cody Crawford, no Del Butler, and Shaq Ardrey was still in his, first or second game, and I think he's kind of progressed on this team a little bit and found more of a role. So I can be biased all day. Oh, I didn't make a pick for the last game. It's all good. All right, Owen, in this one, who you got and what are your keys? And then I'll kind of do the same thing I did for our last matchup. But who you got?
You just who I got. Let me go through it because I don't even know who I have yet. So Wave Mob, like you said, last time we saw him, no Cody Crawford, no Del Butler, a early Shaq Audrey, I don't know. I think, what is it? Ardrey
is what
Ardrey.
Is what I'm going with.
Sorry, Shaq. And the Mob, they kind of have a very similar team to what they had in week 4, but they've gotten more into their own. They are more cohesive, look like a better team than they did in week 4. And I think the big key in week 4 was the free throws. Jared Hansen, he went 7 for 8. And in an 8.5 rim league, you wouldn't think that free throws plays as big as an impact as it does. It really does matter, especially in these close games. And I think that's why the RI Wave were able to get that 3-point win back in week 4. But like we both mentioned, these teams are a little bit different now. And this game is definitely going to come down to the wire. And like I mentioned earlier, this game is probably going to be a little bit more low scoring, a little more of the grind it out, like you said earlier, the finals type feel, which I think both these games are going to have that finals type feel, which coming in the semifinals, that's a good thing for first season here in Massachusetts. That's definitely something you want to see. And you didn't give a pick on the last game, so I'm not letting you get off the hook. But I think an even trade if I don't give a pick here, because this game is, in an ideal world, this game comes down to the final shot.
I might have lost him, but he was talking crap over there. All right. Yes, go ahead. Sorry. Yes. Final shot. I like it.
I said it. In an ideal world, this game comes down to a final shot. And if it comes down to a final shot, you're not going to like me for this, but I trust the Mob a little bit more.
Wow, that's wild. From your roots and everything, and you have no faith. All right. Well, let's break it down.
I didn't have faith from day one.
All right. So, that's a whole separate conversation of how the team was supposed to look in my mind before the season versus where we're at now. But, so first, to backtrack, yes, the shooting and the teams, we talked about no Cody Crawford, players on both teams looking more comfortable. A 51-27 rebounding edge for the Mob in week 4. And it was 21 offensive rebounds to just 3 in favor of the Mob. So they had that many extra possessions, 21 extra chances. They took 20 more field goal attempts. So there you go. There's your rebounds and your extra field goal attempts. And they lost in overtime. So, of course, I'm biased. I'm not going to pick against my own team. So I will backtrack at the end of this, and we can pick our finals and do finals picks, and we'll recap all of our picks. So you will have to make a pick. But I don't expect that edge to be as big either way for either team, and really in either game. I think the rebounding will be a lot closer as teams kind of slow it down and focus and box out, right? But that is a huge, 21-3 on the offensive glass is noticeable throughout a game like that where it's still a close game. That's big, big, big. And then you kind of talk about, it's going to be a grind it out. I think a little race to 70. I think that's kind of the, what comes to mind. If a team gets to 70, I really like their chances. Not that it's necessarily the first team to 70, but I think it's going to be in the 70s. And so that's, getting there is going to be important for both teams offensively and even just on both ends of the floor. So, a Del Butler, Shaq Ardrey, Cody Crawford, Jared Hansen lineup, insert Anthony Lyons in there at some point. I can name every player on every team, but some of those rotations, 4 guys that can shoot. Del Butler has some size on the other end. They've been doing, the Wave doing some pick and roll stuff, getting out in transition. Cody Crawford, the first time a team like the Mob is playing someone like Cody Crawford, and of course I'm biased, and Cody on my team is a great thing. He hasn't always been on my team, but in the playoffs, he's someone who's, got to be over 20, 25 playoff games now at least.
Yeah.
For him personally in the legacy leagues, and everyone's played in playoffs, and that's only so.
For about the 2.5 seasons that I've been a part of this whole legacy leagues, he's one of those guys that, not that he has bad regular seasons, although I did leave him off my legacy team 2 years ago. You can yell at me all you want for that. Come playoff times, he's one of those players that is going to elevate his game and play that much better, whereas some of these other players, not that, this is the first season here in Massachusetts, but from what I've seen last week and what I've seen in the Rhode Island League the last couple of seasons, he's probably the guy who takes his game to the highest level compared to everyone else, and I think that's going to play a huge role in the Wave and in this game in general.
Yeah, and so not that the Mob players won't elevate their play, we just don't know. That's an unknown, right? Where, a Jared Hansen, a Cody Crawford, those two, we know what we're getting from them. And that's at worst a B+ game, right? Where sometimes other players fluctuate and, you don't know what you're going to get from night to night with certain players. So that's key number one. And I think 2 players like that who can control the offense. Okay, it's important to get a good shot here. The other team's on a run. We're down 5. It's the third quarter. Like, we need a bucket. Like, getting a good look in moments like that when you have to execute is huge. So I think offensively for the Wave, hitting shots, that goes for every team. But being able to execute like that and even stop the flow, right? So you talked about free throws. Cody Crawford and Jared Hansen, and even Shaq Ardrey is crafty down there. Like, players like that who can attack, get to the paint, get fouled, and then like the game slows down. Everyone gets to breathe and look around and be like, we're good. Make some free throws and kind of slow the game down instead of it getting into an up and down game. I think offensively for the Wave, a lot of those things. So to sum it up, experience, right? Especially offensively. But then on
That's
the other
a great
end,
word that we have yet to use.
But it's different in the playoffs. So I'll say it 2 more times this podcast and we're almost done, but it's different in the playoffs with players like that. For the Mob offensively, they have 2 bigger players that they need to take advantage of, right? So going back to that matchup, Sebastian Delone took 9 threes. Daquan Durham took 11 threes. That should not happen against a team like the Wave, especially back in week 4 without Del Butler, without, Cody Crawford, who's good enough defender down low to kind of hold up. It was Anthony Lyons and Anthony Ramsey, and that's it for paint defense at that point, right? And those guys took 23s combined. That needs to come down for those 2, even though they can make them, right? They need to work on attacking, getting the other team in foul trouble, and taking advantage of that size that they do have so they can get those second chance points. So
yeah.
And then
speaking of making
right?
threes, Anthony Lyons, one of the best 3-point shooters in the Massachusetts League, and definitely be on the lookout for him in the 3-point contest because he might be big, but he takes them and he makes them, and you can't discredit that at all.
Yeah, I'm right here, but all right, the best 3-point shooter, great. All right, cool. I'll see myself out. but especially in a game like this, right? And so that's kind of we talked about the unknown for the Mob. Just when it gets to nut crunching time, right? In an elimination game, it's different, right? There's going to be teams watching and people there, and it's going to have that feel, right? Who makes a play, right? And so, sure, Anthony Lyons, he's on my team. I haven't seen him in a game like that, right? We've seen Cody Crawford, we've seen Jared Hansen. So that there's unknowns on both ends, actually, for both of these teams, despite the experience part of it we just talked about. I'll pick the Wave. I'll pick the Wave by 7, lucky 7. And I think a key to watch is the rebounding and then is the effectiveness shooting for 3 for both of these teams. Because the Mob need to use their size and the Wave need to hit those shots to kind of overcome some of that size and score with a team like the Mob. So I'm going the Wave. I'll make my other pick after. And but yeah, all right. So who do you got in this one?
Quick little excerpt. Would you rather have 26 threes at 48% or 12 threes at 41%? Blind rank it.
Oh, I mean, I'd rather have the more. Only because.
All right. So you just
pace-wise.
picked against yourself. You just picked against yourself.
Yes, but is that I think so? Like a faster pace, and like that's fine. But a faster pace, like if the game gets in the 80s, and you might have the wrong answer on this, but I think that favors the Wave in a game like this. Like I think the Mob is going to want second chances on their end. Like let's offensive rebound. Let's get inside. Let's get easy twos. Right. Let's get the Wave in foul trouble. Let's slow the game down. 65 points, hold them to 55. Right. We defend their threes and let's win by 10 and go to the finals. Right. If it's going to be 82-75, I think that's the Wave getting out and running. The size doesn't matter as much because it's faster pace. We're making more threes. And I think that actually kind of goes to the Wave.
The lower the score, the better the chance for the Mob. The higher the score, the better the chance for the Wave, like you say. And I think, like you said, the 70-point mark is kind of right in the middle, whether it's a fast-paced or slow-paced game. And that'll definitely be an interesting one. But you have the Wave, which I think is fair. I think I do have the Mob in this one. I think based off, they can slow this game down. They have the size, they have the skill to be able to, as a team, slow this game down. And although the RI Wave isn't a free agent team, I don't know if a lot of the listeners know this, but they're all from the Rhode Island League. They all play on different teams out there. They're all competing against each other. They play each other. They play on a team Wednesday, Monday, and Tuesday. They're talking crap to each other. Not that it has a lot of volume to it, but they don't play as a team every single day. Whereas the Mob, they're just a group of friends who go out here and they compete. And I think in a slower game, the Mobs, I guess you could say team chemistry might play a factor in this one. And I think I have the Mob in a close, low-scoring game.
And in a slower game, sure, that's exactly what we both just said. I'm not sure it favors the Mob as much as you think because the Wave is old. And the Wave is older and probably wants to play a little slower. It will favor the Mob, so obviously we want to speed it up. But a grind, like the fourth quarter is going to be slow. Right? And so having to execute the last time these two teams played, the Wave got it done. Sure, it was 2 stops and free throws, right? In overtime. But, and we've seen the Mob do it in other close games, and the Mob lost to the Reapers in overtime as well. And it's a different team in a whole different scenario. It was double overtime, sure. So they've been in close games like that. And so at least they've experienced it, is my point. I'm excited. We'll see. And you picked the Mob. All right. So to kind of wrap, you have Mob Reapers. I have Reapers Wave. I'm not picking a finals pick, but you can preview if that was your finals. Who would you have out of that winning it all? Because next week I expect some other analysts to be here, and we kind of have to, hear what they have to say. So you have the floor, sir.
Mob Reapers. As a finals, you don't have that. You have the Wave, but we both have the Reapers, and I think we both have the Reapers for good reason. Like I said earlier, they're undefeated for a reason. I think talent-wise, they're the best team in this league, and I think they complete the perfect season. They finish, 11-0. They go 11-0. They get their first ring, and I'm not here to discredit the Mob, but I think if you can go through this gauntlet of a regular season where all these teams are good, all these teams have talent, and you come out undefeated, where maybe once, maybe twice, your chance at a regular season, at a undefeated season was even tampered with. And I say maybe once, maybe twice. I say that with a grain of salt because twice. Okay, we'll give you twice.
Week 1, but that's all right. Go ahead.
week 1 is early. Everybody's going through the gears.
Respect.
And
yep.
Week 1 is early, but they were able to pull away with a win early in week 1 when nobody was playing basketball.
Yep.
So I think we'll say twice. Their chance at an undefeated season was messed with twice, and they were still able to find a way. But for those other 6 games, it's been the Reapers from the jump, and I don't see any reason why that stops, any reason why they don't keep winning. And I think the Reapers win this game, and I think it's close. And the Mob, no discredit to them, they're a great team. And I think if they lose, they're going to be the hungriest team out there. And come a season from now, they're bold pick. They're going to win the next championship.
Next one. Well, to close, I expect, so there's 3 games left, right? In most cases, and it's so funny how this works out, 2 of them will more than likely like come down to the wire, whether that means it's a 8-point game, 7-point game, but it was like close in the final 5 minutes, or it was a 1-possession game and a team had a shot to win it, with 10 seconds left and missed. Like 2 of these 3 are going to be super close. Now, which 2? Who knows? And all 3 can be super competitive, but most likely 2 are going to be super close. And what that means is we are going to see some weird stuff happen. This is what I mean. A team takes a timeout in the 3rd quarter when you really shouldn't. And like you'd like to have 2 timeouts in the 4th quarter because the game's going to be close, and you kind of take one because you're about to fall out of bounds, or you take one because you're on the wrong end of a run and you take one, and then you kind of hurt yourself in the 4th quarter not having 2 when timeouts are huge. You can advance the ball. You need them at the end of games to get a good shot, all that stuff. Fouling early, right? Does a team wait too long to foul, kind of shoot themselves in the foot? Do they start fouling early, and are they able to kind of come back from being down 2, but they foul with 30 seconds left instead of waiting, right? And kind of play the foul game longer with their timeouts. There's going to be something schematically weird that just happens, right? And it might just mean a game goes into overtime, but the team that was up 2 with 30 seconds left still wins, right? But maybe the game shouldn't have went into overtime, but because weird stuff happened, we ended up in overtime, where both teams at that point, it's 2-minute overtimes forever until somebody wins, right? So in the playoffs. So I look and I'm excited for, and that's one of my favorite parts, is being able to like, all right, and subbing. So the Mob have kind of 6 consistent players. The Reapers have 5 or 6 that they've been playing with. The Wave have 6 or 7. People need to like, it just depends on the
DTMB,
team.
they got 6 or 7 as well.
Sure.
Don't discredit them.
That's right.
Although we both pick them to lose.
You're
I
right.
think that's all the hunger they need, all the motivation they need.
But and so something as small as, and it's a great place to end after nearly, freaking 50 minutes, something as small as someone wanting to go in or being used to playing 25 minutes a game, like myself, let's just put it on myself, and me instead being 1,000,000% okay playing 8 minutes, which then allows Cody Crawford, Jared Hansen, Shaq Ardrey, Anthony Lyons, Del Butler, Anthony Ramsey to play more, right? If I, in that position, was pissed, that could affect the rest of the team, right? I'm trying to sub myself in, I'm screwing stuff up, I'm forcing it, right? So maybe that doesn't happen, but a lot of times, little things like that are the difference, right? Making your free throws, rotations shorten, and how do teams adjust to that? Maybe a Kevin Views can't come out, right, where he used to sub, or Sebastian Delone needs to play the full game, right? It needs to be effective for 40 minutes, or maybe he was able to sub out at other times. So I rest my case, but I'm excited. We got 2 very good games on Wednesday night, and Owen just likes to continue to bash, his roots and where he came from. So we are excited to, and Cody never forgets. You know that. Cody Crawford, no one forgets, but Cody Crawford.
No, he doesn't.
So yeah, I'm excited to see what he says to you.
That's the beauty of this all. We could preview these games all night long. We've been here for, what is it, 50 minutes now?
Too long.
We could preview it for another 20, 25. But point of this all, 4 Kicks, Norfolk, Wednesday night. Be there. Whether your team is in or not, be there. Have a chance, and we'll see you guys then. Thank you for listening.